What's happening, sports fans? Matthew Bellman, Ryan Kostrowski here. This is the DFS 5-pack, ready to break down a little NBA DFS for the 14th of January. We will call it the first day of the Nets now being at the front of every sports show moving forward for the rest of the year as that train wreck is ready to happen. It's going to be a wild year of the NBA as per usual, but if you watch like Skip and Shannon, have fun debating this or listen to this trash all day long, all the rest of
I was just thinking, man, like yesterday we made our video talking about Harden. We went on like maybe the longest tangent we've ever gone on, talking about what, probably not, but still a long one, talking about where we thought Harden would fit best. And then he gets traded like right after. Man, my opinion hasn't changed. I think the Nets gave up way too much. I'm real pumped the Cavs got Jared Allen for basically nothing. When the trade first came out, it said the Cavs had gotten LeVert. And I mean, I freaked out. I was texting all my buddies, and they're like, "Bell, stop playing with us. We know it didn't happen." And I'm like, "I wasn't playing. I got the notification, but I'll take Jared Allen all day."
Yeah, which definitely moves that there's too many big men in Cleveland, and I don't know what they're going to do, but maybe they can fleece somebody for Andre Drummond.
There was a tweet that came out last night that Andre Drummond laughed at. It said 2023 Cavs starting lineup: point guard Andre Drummond, shooting guard Rudy Gobert, small forward Jared Allen, like power forward DeMarcus Cousins. It was hilarious.
All right, guys. So we are here today to talk about NBA DFS. So as far as what the promotions of the day are, real simple ones. First off, buy a monthly membership today. You get both football and basketball. Get half of your first month reimbursed by the end of the day. Also, we're going to go big on this one. I don't have a ton of faith that we're going to get there, but I want to try. If we get 250 thumbs up or likes on today's video, all you have to do is slide your finger down to the thumbs up button. We'll do a giveaway tomorrow of 2 free monthly memberships. No charge for those. All you got to do is scratch our back, and we will scratch yours.
And for those of you who are, really, really interested in getting that, and might want to give a couple likes, it never hurts to create a second YouTube account.
Yeah. We're kidding. Don't have to go out there and do that. But hey, we'll take whatever we can get, guys. Day passes are up through the website. Subscribe to the station if you're new to it. We'll stick with the normal format that we've been doing this year, and we will roll into the cash lock of the day. The Houston Rockets are obviously they are the most shorthanded, desirable team to look at today. We know that the Spurs, monster defensive days are a little bit of the thing of the past. So they're not in a bad matchup or anything like that. And I think from an intangible aspect, which is not something that I normally go out of my way to pick on, I love the idea of the Rockets playing hard today. They got the elephant out of the room. They got the monkey off the back. Addition by subtraction. However you want to phrase it, by getting the bearded chubby guy out of the room, I think you're going to see the best effort for today of the Houston Rockets. So for me, my cash lock is Eric Gordon, assuming he plays. Now, something that we talked about on the members on the video at length is, if Eric Gordon can't go today, with John Wall already ruled out, and they didn't even have Clemens there today, this team might struggle a little bit, because if you don't have a point guard, you don't have a point guard. As we also discussed in length, Eric Gordon he's still more of a wing player than a point guard, but he's capable of running the show for a day or two, which is the situation he's going to find himself in today. I love that he has small forward and shooting guard eligibility at the weaker positions. You can just get somebody in there. This will be like his highest usage rate of the year. He'll also be the most popular guy on this slate. So if he's playing today, he's going to be uber chalk. Start your cash lineups here. And I know we talked about this for a long time too. I personally think it's a risky fade, even in GPPs, knowing that he's going to have to play a lot different than his normal role on this team today.
And I'll say this, I kind of felt bad about myself after our members only video, because I am an Eric Gordon fan. I've liked him forever. I liked him in college. I've always been an Eric Gordon fan. I don't think he's quite like the lock of all locks that you do, because I could see Houston struggling even with him playing, because they're just devoid of talent right now. However, you're right. He's very, very affordable at 5,100. I do expect Houston to get up after losing Harden. He's too cheap. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. You lock him in your cash games, and it's not a guy that you got to fade in tournaments. I think he's very, we use the term free square for cheaper guys, but he does seem very free squarish today.
Definitely. All right, next guy up. One of Matt's, GPP specials, who has just been playing playing lights out the last couple of games. And I think a big thing here is that Toronto I think they're already over the Aaron Baines and Alex Len experiments. And these guys have basically had 0 to almost 0 run the last couple of days. And Boucher just does the things that DraftKings rewards.
Yeah. Not only that, but we've talked about like Toronto not playing well have not even not playing well. They've been pretty bad to start the year. Boucher at least gives them some energy, some spark. He's a guy with some upside. They don't have many of those guys. I personally feel like he's a guy that when he starts to get consistent run, and it's starting now, he's going to be not just a good, DFS player, but a lot of like Christian Wood. He can do a lot of things. I think he's going to prove more valuable to the team than they thought he ever would. Because quite frankly, like I know that DFS points don't always translate to like real game, but they mean something. Like if you're able to block shots, like hit threes, get rebounds, like you're doing something right.
Okay, I like the Christian Wood comparison. Not quite as polished on the offensive end, but a much better shot blocker. I mean, this guy averages 2.5 block shots per game, and there's a lot of games where he's only played like 15, 20 minutes. So he can just flat out get it. His biggest issue is foul issues. Not unusual for a young big man. I'm sure we've all seen that one before. Toronto needs a dub right here. And the biggest point, and something that you didn't address, but you addressed 2 slates ago when we talked about Chris Boucher, they get scared using him against bigger, beefier centers. However, that is not the issue with Charlotte. Charlotte runs, Bismack Biyombo for 20 minutes a game or whatever it is. He's not scary at all. He's not even an offensive threat to say the slightest. So I am not worried about the big man in Charlotte, even at all. 0.
I definitely think Wood has a more polished offensive game, but I'm trying to think of a guy that has a better combination of shot blocking and 3-point shooting. Miles Turner's up there, but Boucher's right up there also.
Yeah, definitely. So get him to. I think he's a looking cash games too, guys. If you trust him, and that's a point I make for cash game players. Yes, there are guys that look to be better GPPs or better cash game plays. But if you like somebody and you really believe that they're going to succeed and you have good reasons, don't be afraid. I mean, I do it all the time. I play guys in cash games that are less than 5% owned because I feel like they're good plays. They work out sometimes, they don't work out others. But when they do work out, you win your cash games because of them.
Well, Chris Boucher, I feel like, has been known and is mostly a GBP guy, right? Because when he plays, he gets big. He plays well usually. He just doesn't play all the time or get big minutes. However, right now, like we are seeing a changing of the guard a little bit. And if this is consistent where he's going to be playing this minute, like these type of minutes every game, he could easily be like a 7 to 7,500 player going forward for the rest of the year.
Do you remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago, maybe 3, when Braun was still in the Cavaliers, in fact, that we found a weakness that they were giving up. The Cavaliers for like 2 months straight were giving up monster points to all wing players. And we just wrote it. And the DFS industry just really wasn't riding it the same way that we were. And like I would get, like I know I had Middleton once when the Bucks played him at like 5%. And everybody was saying like, well, he's not going to be very popular tonight. I'm like, that's fine. But like we've used wing players against the Cavs for 2 straight months and they've worked almost every single night. I'm not going to stop it just because he's not popular. If you find something that works for you, it doesn't matter if that's not what Awesemo and Roto Grinders tell people to do. Yeah. Like if it works for you, it works for you.
That's even better because then you don't have to like bother with all that other shit. Like if you got something that works for you, that consistently works, ride with it. We talk about this all the time. There's plenty of different ways to skin the cat.
Right. I mean, I know last night, for example, I knew Durant was going to be really, really popular, but I didn't love Kevin Durant in that spot. I just didn't love it. So I faded him on all of my GPPs, and I ended up using him in cash games just because I knew he'd be popular. But even putting him in there, I'm like, if you don't like him, why are you playing him?
For sure. I felt the same way. I ended up using him. I originally had him in 3 of my 4. Then I made it so I only had him in 1 of 4 because I didn't love him like that. And then I was like, oh, man, I feel like I have to use him in 2 of 4. And that's just a bad feeling, and I'm pissed at myself.
The flip side of that is, even though I didn't love him, he was still all right. Obviously not great by that slate standards. But also, he's not going to get out-rebounded by Bruce Brown like that normally.
No, it's pretty crazy to see him have 0 rebounds at half.
Yeah, and Bruce Brown had like 9. Sometimes the weird things like that just happen. Anyway, onto our favorite mutual play of the day. As the church lady from SNL would say, isn't this Precious? Yes, that is the 4,400 power forward center, Precious Achiuwa. How do you pronounce his last name again?
Yeah, I think
Achiuwa.
Achiuwa.
Achiuwa, okay. Not one I've seen a lot in my real life, and I haven't watched this guy play a ton, minus the full game against the 76ers the other day.
It's my real life. I'll say that. I'll take that a step further.
What's that?
I've never seen that name in my real life. I'll take it.
Fair enough. I was impressed by him the other day, and I don't like him as much as he did the other day. He's also not going to be quite as popular as he was the other day because his price is different. And we also don't think Miami plays as well as they did the other day. However, he's still very, very cheap at 4,400. He's a center with power forward eligibility. Miami is still very, very shorthanded today. They might get Myers Leonard back today, which is possible, but I'm not overly concerned about this one. The big thing for us in Philly, with Tobias Harris back, we kind of expect Philadelphia to play a better game right here, not take Miami so lightly, and potentially win this game by double digits as opposed to going to overtime. That's why we like Precious. He's still going to be out there. This is a young guy who this is just a great opportune time for the Miami Heat to get him plenty of run.
Yeah, and this is a guy that's part of their future, their first-round pick, top 15 pick or so, I believe. Again, productive in college. His game is a lot like Bam's. I mean, it's not the exact same as Bam's, obviously, and he's not as polished as Bam anywhere, but Bam was very raw, if you remember, when he, his first few years in the league when he was playing behind Whiteside. I don't think Achua is like as tall as him, but they do a lot of the same things, and guys like that walk into DFS points. He's not as cheap, so he's not like the stone cold lock that he was then, but I'm with you. Like, cog in the machine type, going to play in any type of game script. If Miami is playing well, he probably had something to do with it. If they're not, he's going to see extra run later. And he's not as cheap, but he's still too cheap for like the role he's in now. When Butler and them come back, he's going to be like obviously out of play and not even a guy we consider at 4,400, but that's just not the case.
So I heard a great point just about this season in general the other day while watching whatever game I was watching. But like, as much as it sucks to have to deal with some of these stars missing games, if you're like a real basketball nerd like me and you and probably the majority of you guys listening to this, like it's fun to see these G League guys and young guys get an extended run, see what we got with some of these guys. There's going to be some teams where this is going to be a blessing in disguise. They're going to figure out that they got more out of somebody that maybe they were a little hesitant to play, that they didn't think was going to achieve at this level, and all of a sudden he's shown them something they didn't even know they had.
Yeah, I'm thinking about one guy right now, Tyrese Maxey.
Yes. In fact, I think that might have been watching the 76ers play where they brought that up.
Really? Like, I mean, honestly, he's got to be part of that routine. He seems like a guy that they've needed, that not that he came out of nowhere, but they weren't expecting him to be that guy, but he might be that guy that they need.
Well, and it's hard for him to get run because you do have a point guard in Ben Simmons, in which guys like Seth Curry are back. It's going to be difficult for him to see major run. If you're a team like Philly, who's, obviously going for it right now, that's a guy that like, maybe you could fleece somebody into giving you too much for him based on what they saw over a 3 or 4 game period, because there's going to be some teams rebuilding. Like, just say, for example, like, I don't know, like what if all of a sudden the Cavaliers wanted to move on from Kevin Love and they see Maxey as another guy. Now you have too many guards for that probably to work already, but there could be some teams like, hey man, we think this guy's got a real future here.
I completely get your point, but I would love to see the Cavs deal Kevin Love for a guy like Maxey. Not necessarily Maxey, because you're right, we have too many guards, but I think you're so right. It could work on the other side too. And then speaking of like the Cavs, to your point, it could work out where like we've seen them play like these scrub guys on a daily basis now because a lot of their guys are hurt. And the high probability is that none of these guys are going to be anything. But like what you just said, what if like one of these guys ends up being like a viable part of the rotation? That's a win.
Definitely. So next up, let's move into our long shots of the day. A guy that I stumbled upon that I almost completely forgot was even a player when we were going through the Pacers versus Blazers game was TJ McConnell. He's been out the last couple days for the birth of his son. He's back tonight. He's not on the injury report today. And with Victor Oladipo gone, what you're most likely to see happen tonight, what we saw last game, was Sumner slid into the starting rotation. He's an excellent defender. He chased Steph Curry around all game long, made life hard on him. I think they're going to do the same thing tonight with Damian Lillard and probably see Sumner go ahead and play with the starting unit again today, which makes Aaron Holiday slide down to play with the reserves where he's spends most of his time anyway. But then you get TJ McConnell back tonight at the minimum at point guard. Like, we all have watched this one play out for years now. And what we mean by that is when McConnell's on the court, he can put up DFS points in a hurry. But there's been so much value on slates lately, I just don't think he's a guy who's going to get much in the way of love today. If this game were to turn into a rout one way or the other, he's a guy who could see potentially a few extra minutes right there. At 3K, I think he's got an outside shot against a team that plays terrible backcourt defense to give you like 25 points tonight.
Yeah, I agree. We're both like kind of McConnell fans whenever he's this cheap and a guy's missing for Indiana because he's a guy that they trust. My biggest worry here is, he has missed a few games, so who knows how much they're going to try to play him. But he missed a few games, like you said, because of the birth of his son. It's not like he's been hurt. They need him now with Oladipo gone. And again, I brought this up on the members only point, but I think it really applies for McConnell. They got Karis LeVert coming soon. Like, they're not going to need that much of McConnell going forward. This is a good chance to give him a little bit of extra run to a guy that they like. I'm all about it here.
All right. Next up, long shot of the day. He was mine, but you took him from me as you picked him, which is fine because as long as I get to talk about him, I'm happy. We love Cousins today. And this is one, if he's terrible tonight, I'll eat crow tomorrow. I got no issue with that. I think he has a great game tonight. I think, and I mean this in all seriousness, I think he's got every opportunity to 10X tonight. And I know that's a bold statement, and I'm probably not going to be right on that, but I think he's got a real opportunity to go off. First off, there's nobody on the Spurs that I'm like worried about checking DeMarcus Cousins. Even though his minutes have not been very, very high this year, minus the fact that he gets kicked out of every other game, we've seen him still tally up DFS points in a hurry when he's out there. Christian Wood's going to be one of the more chalky players on the slate at the center position. So this is just going to eat into Cousins. It's the reason Cousins will be, lower owned today. There's another center that's going to get a lot of love as well, which means that he's going to fly in under the radar. Unless, which is a possibility, but not something I would count on. There's an outside chance they slide Wood down to the 4 tonight and start Cousins. If that's the case, now he becomes instant chalk. But if he's coming off the bench tonight, this is the one guy who's been vocal about kind of trashing James Harden a little bit. I think he comes out with something to prove tonight. Again, I'm not a huge narrative guy, but I think he goes out there and you see like vintage Boogie Cousins, even if it's only for 25 minutes. I mean, this guy can eat in 25 minutes.
You might not be a huge narrative guy, and I might be a narrative guy, but in the end, it doesn't really matter because you know who I think is a big narrative guy? DeMarcus Cousins. We've seen this before when he went back to Sacramento and absolutely tore them a new hole in his return there. You can tell that Cousins has taken this James Harden thing personally. I bring this up a lot. Between Cousins and John Wall, they're not lacking any confidence. These guys think they're the best players on the floor at all times. Cousins, I'm sure, has been disrespected for Harden, basically saying that these guys aren't good enough for him to play with. I do love the pivot off of Chalky Wood. I also think they're both definitely in play, especially if Cousins is coming off the bench. If Cousins is starting, and I don't think I like Wood as much as, the masses do, but that would make me like Wood even less. If Cousins is starting at the 5, it's just going to mean more minutes for him because Wood's already out there. Like, I love Cousins today no matter what. I don't even want to talk about him anymore because I love him so much. Like, yeah, I know I kind of wavered on the members only video because there's another center that's way too cheap, but I don't care. Cousins is my favorite play on the slate. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his tonight, man. I think he's going to eat at like James Harden at a Houston strip club buffet. Like, I just think like it's just going to he's going to do his thing tonight. He's still very, very, very capable of putting up DFS points in a hurry. And the other big issue with Cousins way back in the day was foul trouble, right? Well, he ain't playing 35, 40 minutes a game anymore. So it's not as big of a concern when he is out there that he picks up the 2 quick ones and has to run to the bench. You're also not paying $10K for him. You're paying $4,700 from him. I think he still comes off the bench tonight. I don't think it's crazy to think they start him, but I still think he comes off the bench tonight, which will eat into his ownership big time. And I think he's going to play his best basketball for the night and show everybody that this Houston team, assuming that Oladipo rolls into town and plays decently for him, I think this Houston team's going to beat some teams this year.
Yes, so do I. I think they're going to be a lot better with Harden gone. I've always wanted Cousins and Wall to play together. I'm excited to see them. Obviously, Wall's not out tonight, or Wall's not playing tonight. And while, again, I've mentioned that I don't like that for Houston, maybe it just means more for Cousins tonight because it's not like Wall's going to be gone forever. So, yeah, I hope people are sleeping on him and, kind of have forgotten the upside that he has because, we talk about this a lot with guys like Giannis, and there is no one like Giannis. But when Cousins is at his best, I mean, he's like right there as a guy who can walk into DFS points.
Yeah, we just haven't seen it much over the last couple seasons.
Right, that's all it is.
Guys, so, okay. I think you can tell who we like today. this is one of those ones, like, I don't think Cousins is going to be super popular tonight. But, assuming he's off the bench. But if you like him, play him in cash games too.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing about it. He's only 4,700. So, like, I do struggle to see a scenario in which he, like, really busts at this price point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he only needs, like, didn't he? I forget. Like, we looked up, he had the numbers. You just click on his stats through DK. Like, he had a game where, like, he just balled in, like, 20 minutes or something like that?
He had a game where he started. He had, like, 40-some DK points in, like, 20 minutes. And, like, just for an example, like, a little, whatever, teaser for a members-only video or whatever, like, a guy that I'm looking at that I was going to bring up to you, Jermichael Green, who's been really good, okay, at 4,200. Basically 20-plus in every game for the past week or whatever, and he's solid. But these guys are basically the same price point, and if one of them is 10Xing, we know who that is.
Yeah, obviously. It's going to be James Harden. No, I mean DeMarcus Cousins. I'm just kidding with you. All right, guys. That's what we got for today. Let's try to get away those free memberships. Sign up for a monthly membership today. The website link is below. We'll do the half-off thing today just to kind of promote new members. We got some good things coming down the pipeline soon as well, which would include a way to better communicate with customers, to talk about all these late stuff. So hopefully we can introduce that real soon. Going to be taking on some new show sponsors real soon as well. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, we got a lot of great things going on. I'm psyched, and thanks.